little bit over time, so I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session. I'm Lauren Van Gumpel. I'm the account representative that works with all of our California districts. And I just wanted to share with you a couple functionality pieces. So what you'll see to the left is you'll see that we have our event, agenda, and session, and you probably all know this already at this point in the summit, but you'll want to complete all of your chats and things like that in the session, under the session tab, and any questions that you have there as well. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over and get out of your way.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. If you're on the West Coast, I don't think it's quite afternoon either on the East Coast, so I guess it is just good morning. My name is John A. Johnson. I'm the Assistant Director of IT for San Bernardino Unified School District. We are a rather large school district out here in California, 55,000 kids, 9,000 staff members, 87 locations, and a ton of projects that we work on a daily basis here in our department. Today I'm going to be kind of branching off of, if you were in the session just a few minutes ago, they were talking about networking and the importance of a network improvement community and how we collectively can do better than individually, and a lot of the new things that get thrown at us on a regular basis. And so I just wanted to start off with letting you guys know that there is a solution out there, or there are solutions out there. But one of the things we collectively need to understand is that we need to collectively manage those solutions. And that's partially what my talk is going to be on today. So no further ado, we're going to be talking about using Scrum to manage projects effectively. Scrum is a type of project management style. And it allows you, if you've ever seen rugby, they all run together, and rugby is kind of an interesting sport. They all run together and huddle, and they decide, okay, what are we going to do with the ball right this minute? And then they break and they go do whatever that was that they all decided on. Now they've got a bigger goal, but they collectively come together to run those short iteratives that take them to the next level. Project management is very similar. Project management is basically everything's on fire. They throw that fireball to you, and now they just want you to figure out how to put out the fire. There's a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of cycles involved. There's a lot of performance, activity, control, risk. There's just a whole bunch of stuff, and it all has to be done right now, and everything's just on fire. And as I was speaking a few minutes ago about the differences in what's happening with a school district as opposed to the private industry. I spent 20 years as a director of IT in the private industry, and then I came over to a school district. And the school district doesn't do things like they do in the private industry. There's different factors, there's different motivations. And so the first thing I did was I got my CBO certification because I needed to understand the behind the scenes, the why. You know, I can manage anything, but I have to understand why I'm managing it, and then that leads you to the how you're going to manage it from there. So we started I started implementing some project management here and looking at the capacity and burn that we had. And this is actually a chart here in my office. It's a little out of date just because things have moved forward, and I took this several months ago, the photo, because I've been giving this this speech to a lot of different organizations, because I feel very passionate about the importance of understanding that we collectively as a district need to understand what the capacity I can do in a certain time frame is versus the burn of all the things that I need to do. And so I started putting this together, and I started doing this back in 2017, and I've been doing it ever since. And I break this down into the different 4 quarters of the year. And I start looking at, okay, what's the capacity that I can do in the first quarter? And then as I start saturating that and I get too many things in, I start looking at, okay, well then what am I going to do with the rest of the stuff they're throwing at me? I can do several things. I can request more capacity, whether that's in people or whether that's in resources. Or I can let the customer know, Mr. Customer, and this gives me the opportunity to reach back out to the customer and say, Mr. Customer, you have 4 things on this list that you want to have done in this time frame. I'm saturated. I don't have the capacity to light all these things on fire. I'm going to need to move some of your stuff. Which one of these would you like me to move? Or can you help increase my capacity so I can get them done in that time frame? Here now I'm interacting with the stakeholders. I'm making sure that I have stakeholders. I'm making sure that this is aligned with the board and with the objectives that the board is trying to meet. And I'm starting to manage all the work that's coming into, and again, I'm in IT. This could be any division, any department within the district as well. I just happen to be doing it in IT. So I get all these things coming in. I get all these requests from different groups. So all of a sudden, we're looking at 4 different things from this one group. They're trying to add more stuff in. I don't have the capacity to get all those things done. Now they understand what our liability or our limitations are. Now they understand what capacity is that we have within that area. And now they can help me make that decision, Mr. Customer, which one of these do you want me to move over? And now I can start looking at which ones I can move over, what my current capacity is, so that then as I bring to the board, hey, I need more people to do more things, or we need to scale back the things that you guys are asking for us to do, I can start negotiating with them because now they understand what it is I need. They understand what our limitations are. The departments can also understand how many things they can throw at us, what we can get done, and what they can do to help us move our projects forward. Now, some people say, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant when I put this on, and I apologize for that. A lot of information, but I want to make sure that we get some of this out there on the floor so we can talk about it. So Scrum is speed and flexibility. It's getting people together at the table that are going to be able to do what needs to be done. It's putting a team together and working with that team. Parkinson's law says that the level of effort will change depending on the time I allocate for something to be done. So when I do a Scrum project, I break it down into sprints. I break it down into time blocks. I'm going to give you guys 2 weeks to do X. Well, that's a sense of urgency that in 2 weeks, you guys can't just sit around this. I mean, how many projects have you guys had that they give you a project and you have a year to install it, and next thing you know, or a year to implement it, and next thing you know, you're 9-10 months in before anybody starts to have a sense of urgency. So what we do is we take a big project and we start breaking it down into little pieces. And I'm going to show that to you guys in just a minute. But I wanted to kind of run Parkinson's law by you guys so that you can kind of get an idea of the level of effort versus the time allocated, and what can you do in that short period. Well, in order to do something in that short period, you have to have that aligned. You have to be ready for it. You have to understand what those pieces are, and your team needs to understand what they need to do. And that's what this project management style that I'm going to show you in a minute, that's what it allows us to do those things. So what is Scrum? Scrum is where we take a project, we take the owner of the project, they're going to be the cheerleader, if you will. So I've got a cheerleader for the project, and the cheerleader is going to be the one who's going to be the voice of the customer. They're going to understand what needs to be done. They're going to get the input from the executives, the stakeholders, the users, and they're going to help us understand what this project actually needs. What are all the pieces to the project? And they're going to create something called a backlog. Now that backlog is going to be what we're going to pull from every time we have some room to get some more stuff done, to get some more stuff pushed forward. As we take that backlog, we're going to start moving that over and do some sprint planning. Sprint is a short time frame. What am I going to do in the next 2 weeks? That's my time frame. So in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to work with the team that I put together to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Then, as I put those things into the sprint backlog, I'm going to have a 1 to 4 week sprint. and my guys are going to work on those things. They're going to get things done. But there's going to be some guy in my group called a Scrum Master who is just basically the person that's going to ask 3 questions. He's going to ask, what did you do last week? What are you doing this week? And what can I help you with? And those are where your daily Scrum meetings come in, where we're going to be every day, or depends on the time frame you guys set, but we do it on it depends on which project we're doing. Some projects we do weekly, some projects we do daily. And every time we have that meeting, those are the questions the Scrum Master is asking. Hey, what did you guys do last week? What are you doing this week? And what can I help you with? What impediments do you have out there that you're going to need my help with? And this all, remember that capacity burn chart? That's where your burn down or your burn up chart comes in. What is it I've got to do? How much space do I have? What's my resources? What do I have to keep moving around? Then you guys go in and you do a sprint review. The review is going to be, how are we doing? What changes do we need to make? And then you've got your finished work. And then you do a retrospect at the end. And that's going to be, what can I do better? Yeah, we got those 27 devices installed at that location, but we ran into some problems. We didn't have the right cabling. We needed to order some other stuff that we didn't. So what is it that happened that I could do better? And now I'm going to incorporate that for the next piece of something that's in the backlog that I'm going to move forward to the sprint, that I'm going to move forward into the daily and the weekly, and then I'm going to move forward from there. So there's a lot to doing Scrum project management, but it's a very easy thing to do. And I'm going to show you guys how we do it. We use the agile approach to project management. It centers around building a team. It's an agile team. That means they're just flexible. You know, it's like, hey, we're going to go this way this week. Okay, we're going to go that way that week. It doesn't have to be rigid. It can be very, very fluid. We're going to have a product owner. That is, like I said before, the voice of the customer. Someone is going to own this. And for every project we have, we get someone to own it. It's not IT. IT is not doing all these projects just because IT wants to do these projects for the district. The people out there in the district are the ones coming to us saying, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z. And so I need to know, okay, well, who's the cheerleader for that? Who is the product owner for that, so that I can get all the information that I need from them on how this how do I even know if we're successful? How do I know if it's aligned to the board's agendas? You know, do we have a board initiative that says, hey, this is the direction we should be going? If not, let's have that conversation right now, and let's either align it to something that it needs to be, or let's go ahead and shelve it, push back, ask for clarification, etc. And then the Scrum Master is going to be the one that's going to be coaching and mentoring the people. He's going to be facilitating meetings. He's going to be gathering information. He's going to be keeping the sprint moving and on track. Oops. Button. Go. So here's what a grid view of our project looks like. Might just look like a spreadsheet to you guys, but we use a software called Smartsheet. And from within Smartsheet, we can go in and have a bunch of automation put in there. We can track a bunch of different pieces. And this is just the master sheet where we put all that information. The master sheet allows us to then pull little pieces of this out and work on them until we get them done in a bite-sized piece, if you will. This is a breakdown of a Gantt chart within that same thing. And as you can see right at the top here, it says Gantt view. I have a bunch of different views. The Gantt view is one of them that we use on here. This project right here is a $30 million project that we are just about to finish. It has gone amazingly well. I've got 7 different vendors working with this chart, as well as internal people in our building. We do the QA for every one of these locations, for every single one of the, like Holcomb Elementary, you see there, they've got 28 classrooms that we're putting a display board in. The display board has 4 major components on it and a whole bunch of different things that we've got to work with. And each one of those is checked and then I send my guys out and they do a QA, quality control check on it. And anything that's found that's an error or isn't working, they can go in and they can put one of those where you guys see the EKC issue and the little red flag. That means somewhere in that Holcomb Elementary School group, there was a problem, and my guys had to send EKC back out. As soon as we click on that little flag there, it instantly sends 3 different people through the automation. It sends them something saying, hey, you've got a problem with one of these boards in one of these rooms. And here's what the problem is. They loop back around and they fix it while my guys are still doing the QA, because they're all at the same site at the same time. And we're getting that taken care of on the fly. So makes it really easy for us to take some of the looping back around out of the system. So from within that big spreadsheet, here is what we have as a little sprint. And the sprint has the backlog. Here are the different locations, and this is time boxed. So this is the TV display sprint for 6/12 to 7/25. In the backlog, here are some of them. It went further than this, but here are some of the locations that we're working on. In progress are the ones that we're prepping to go next. The 2-week sprint is right here. So Bing Wong, I have Team C going out to do the QC on Thursday at 10 a.m. On hold, we've got a display check. So there's something there that we have to look at. And those are the new things they had to do a QA on. And then the retrospect gives me the things that have been done, but haven't been completed yet. So in North Vermont, they've done the QC, but the cleanup hasn't been done. And we had a problem where people weren't cleaning up all the trash. And so we just added it on here as another thing they have to check on. So the vendor, EKC, has to go out. They have to verify that it's been cleaned up before they can click on that, before it gets to the completed box. So that's how we take a bigger project, break it down into a smaller time box of how much can I get done in that time frame, and then work through them one at a time. The project itself has a whole bunch of different pieces in it. And again, because this is kind of a spreadsheet, I can go in, I can put in a whole bunch of different things. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of little boxes with red dots. They're putting notes in here so that as we go in and look at something, I can go in and read the notes. Once the thing is completed, then it gets sorted differently so I know where it went. I can also go in. Yes, this is all still Smartsheet, somebody asked. I can also go in and I can build the team so that from within the project, I can tell who the business owner is, who the product owner is, who's running as the Scrum Master. And I change that all the time with my guys so that everybody gets a chance to be the Scrum Master. Everybody gets the chance to lead a team. They get to build that capacity. They get to work and cross-train with each other. My development team is in there. My SMEs, my SMEs are subject matter experts. These are the people that they know they can go to for questions that have to do with the software or whatever it is that we're installing. Here's what it looked like back in 2017. Now, I wasn't using Smartsheet back then, but you don't have to. I was literally using these boards, and they're just the Post-it note, the 30 by 25s. We had a room with 100 projects on it running all at the same time, because that's just how we had all our projects. And so we literally set the Post-it notes up, and we went in, and each one of those boards up there was being run by somebody else. Somebody else was the Scrum Master for each one. And they would go up, they'd talk about their project, they'd talk about what the vision is, what the product roadmap is, where we are, what needs to be done, what's next, what's coming up. And the whole team would be there to hear it all. And so when we were done going through all those projects, and we did this once a week for the major walkthrough on all the projects, it would take an hour to go through every one of our projects. And everybody would know exactly what's happening in IT. Anything changed, everybody would know, and we'd be able to make those changes on the fly. So it gave us the ability to be a lot more agile with the project management things we were doing. And if you look down in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that that capacity burn chart originally was down there on the floor when we first started doing this stuff. Now a sprint, from within that project that we were talking about, a sprint is taking that time box, throwing things in your backlog, you're in progress, figuring out what you can do, what's your capacity and burn for that 2-week sprint. I can only do so much. I only have so many people available. But this gives me the ability to break that out and to put this in context with all the other projects that I have that I need to run a 2-week sprint with as well. Within each one of these little boxes that you see here is a card. And each one of those cards gives us a certain amount of information. And from within those cards, I have where is the event happening, when is it happening, the status of the card, is it done or not, what size location am I working at? This is a medium location. Who's responsible for it? How are we going to make sure that the quality control is done? And has anything else been done that I need to track as well? So this gives me a lot of information on each one of those moving pieces from within the project as I move forward, making it real easy for us to keep on track of what's happening. Again, the Scrum Master questions are going to be really simple. And it's just, what did you do yesterday? What are you working on now? And how can I help? It's imperative that we've got somebody keeping the cadence on the projects so that we know what's happening with it. Scrum in a school district, we can use this on large projects. We can use this on small projects. It's a great way to get your stakeholders involved, to get the buy-in. It's great to hold your teammates accountable because you'll ask someone, hey, who's working on that? Oh, John's working on that. Okay, what did you do last week? Oh, well, I didn't get to it. I was busy doing something else. Okay, well, what can you do this week? And it helps motivate them because they want to stay up with the rest of the team as well. And it keeps everybody on track on what's happening with the thing. You guys also get a chance to brainstorm by using this project process so that you know where you are and what the other people are working on. And you get to do the lessons learned as well because we're doing a retrospect as you're moving forward. Smartsheet we use, there's a lot of other packages out there that you can. We found that Smartsheet worked well because the licensing is only for those creating the sheet. In my department, we've got close to 50 people in IT, 49, and we only have 5 licenses. I have a team of 27. I can create the sheet for everything that we do, and that's only making maybe a couple hundred projects a year that I need to actually make the project. Then I can assign it to everybody else and they can do everything except for move columns or rename columns, that kind of stuff. So as long as I make all those adjustments, then I'm the only one that needs that license. That also allows all of my vendors to come in here and work with me and put stuff in and update the sheet as well without needing them to have a license to be able to do what they need to do. So it makes it a lot easier for me to keep on top. And I know there's a lot of other packages out there. This is just the one that we found that works well. The Scrum process is a very simple, repetitive process that allows us to take the information in a very uniform way, keep the information moving forward, and figure out what the definition of done is because we've got someone that's got the voice of the customer, and the voice of the customer is the one that's able to give us that information. This process is something that could be used, and it doesn't have to be an IT process. This could be used for a myriad of different things that you guys are doing out there. I know the gentleman before me was talking about Lean, Six Sigma, Kanban, ITIL, APQC. A lot of these processes can be built into doing project management within a school district. How do we keep on top of all the changes? How do we know whether we're on track? How do we know whether or not we're doing what we need to do in order to get the results on the back end? And that's one of the things project management and having a project management software package can help you guys with, as far as what's happening on your projects themselves. Okay, I think I zoomed through that so that we could get to the questions. I usually have a lot of questions at the end, so I just want to make sure that we got to the question part of this. And I wanted to make sure that I brought that up so that if you had any interest in getting to some of these links, that those links were there as well. Anybody out there using project management software currently in your districts? Oops, did I do let me drop that. I don't know if I dropped that or not. I think I did. Let me just go to why it popped me to the top. Should pop me to the bottom. Okay, there's the bottom. So I've noticed that a lot of school districts don't use any project management. It's one of those things that I think it's missed when you guys start looking at the initiatives you guys have. I think a lot of people have a great idea, a lot of smart tools out there, smart people out there that have got just a ton of information that they want to bring forward. They're real enthusiastic about it. And the first thing that happens is they apply for a grant, they get the grant comes in, and now they have no resources. And that's one of the we have a grant writer at our district, and so I see this all the time. And it's one of the things that we're trying to set up a project management office here in the district. And the reason we're trying to do that is because we've got a ton of grants coming in, great ideas, life-changing type things they're trying to do, but then they don't have the resources from the district already aligned to do the things that the grant that they applied for will allow them to do, because some of the stuff the grant doesn't allow you to do. There are certain resources you can't use that grant money for. And if you have the grant, but you don't have the resources, you're not going to get that grant done. So those are some of the things that we're trying to fix. And part of that is we need to know what the vision is. What is it you guys are trying to do? And one of the tools that we use is something called a project charter. The project charter is something that we start with every project. They have to go in and fill out the project charter, and the project charter tells us who is wanting to do this, what is it you guys are actually trying to do, how do we know if we're successful, and how does that lay out? What are the pieces of that? Who's going to be the stakeholder? Who's going to tell me what the milestones are that we need to hit, and do we have to do them by a certain time? And so we can factor all that in to figure out the capacity burn. Because again, I go all the way back to the capacity. How much can we do? And again, go back to your department. How much can your department do in a given period of time? Well, what do you guys have coming? What does your year look like? If you had a capacity and a burn chart that would tell you, hey, these are all the things I want to get done this year, and then broke it up into the quarters that they belong in, then you'd be able to go in and say, can I or can I not take on that new great project somebody wants to do? And if I want to bring it on, what else am I not going to do then? And so we're helping the district do that. Like just this morning, I got an email saying, hey, we've got this project that's coming on. We've got 12 people coming in. They're going to be doing this at a certain school. All my 12 people need access to your network. They're going to be using all these devices. And we're going to have a Canon printer come in that we're going to need to print to off your network. And so I reached out to them and I said, hey, that sounds great. Let's set up a project. I'm going to send you the form that needs to be filled out for the project charter. And I need you to fill that out so that we can figure out exactly what we're looking at. They've already told me They do a whole bunch of video stuff, so they're not going to be able to connect to our guest network if we have one, which we do. And they're going to need to be able to print across our network. So to me, that means that now I've got a bunch of people that are going to be on our backbone. They're going to need access. That means they're going to need rights. That means I've got to have my networking team involved to set up accounts for them. That means that someone's going to have to set up and manage the IP for that printer so they can print to the printer. So that as far as IT goes, that gives me a whole bunch of information as far as how can I service them best. Now, had they come in and just said, hey, we're here, you know, how do we connect to the printer? Now all of a sudden they're not going to be able to work until we figure this out, and it's going to slow them down. And even though they wanted to hit the ground running, they can't until we get through a bunch of stuff that now up front we're going to be able to put together. We're going to be able to help them and make sure that they're on top of what it is they need to do when they get here. So there's a lot of stuff in project management that makes our lives a lot easier. But as a district, it makes your lives a lot easier too. So I encourage you guys, if you guys don't have project management on the horizon, you guys haven't been looking at project management, that you guys start looking at the life cycle of the NIC that we were talking about earlier today. How do you create your goals, create your charters to get stuff done, put that stuff together if you're not looking at managing the project? Because each one of these has and here's the definition of a project, a simple definition of a project. A project has a beginning and an end. It's unique, and it's got a deliverable somewhere in the middle of it. So if your initiatives have those things, and I think most of them do, then it is an actual project. And if it's an actual project, then you can manage it. And if you manage it, you can take the fire out of it. When I first got here back in 2015, everything was on fire, like I said. We would literally all run to a school and do this, and then we'd run to another school and do that. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, this is just IT in the school district. And I'm like, this is crazy making. I don't, is this, you know, have you guys ever done this before? And they said, we do this every year. I was dumbfounded that this was the norm and they do it every year. And I'm like, okay, whoa. You know, we need to start capturing some of these things as they run by, turn them into projects to understand them. Then after we did that, we started looking at automation. Well, how can we keep you from all run into that school next year? How can we keep you guys from needing to do all the things you just did over and over and over again by simplifying it, by understanding it better? And so we started implementing things like our guys would have to go out and touch every single device to get ready for SBAC so that we would have the right operating system on it. We would have the right drivers and what have you. And then halfway through that process, the state would tell us, yeah, we just updated the drivers. You need to update all your browsers to this new one so that it'll be a secure browser. And then we would have to do the whole thing again right before testing, and sometimes it would lead into testing, and it was just crazy making. And so we started bringing in some automation. We started bringing in some MDM stuff. We started limiting. We had 34 different types of devices that we used across our district. And that was just crazy for my guys to go out and try and figure out what driver they needed, to try and figure out what they were going to be doing to make these different devices work all across the network for all these myriad of different things people were trying to do. So we have a district technology committee. We started talking about limiting them. COVID really helped with that. Not that we wanted it to help with that, but it did. It forced us to realize, you know, if we're going to go to one-to-one, and then we went to one-to-two with a lot of schools, we brought in over 40,000 new devices and had to push a bunch of those older devices out the door. But that meant all of a sudden we had a new problem, and that was we had a ton of devices being taken home and getting broken, and then they'd come back to the school and get a new one, and they'd take the other one home. And we just had so many broken devices that I had to go in and I had to get my guys up to speed on doing device repair, which they didn't do before. And that meant then I had to reclassify them, because now Not only did they do the tech support and the help desk and what have you, but now they do device support. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing, and we managed it, and that's one of the things that I'm encouraging you guys to do. Look at what it is you guys have on your plate. Realize that a lot of the stuff that you have on your plate can be managed, and start looking at how can I start putting that stuff together, putting a system together, so that when something comes to my department, whatever department that is, I have a system to take that, to bring that in, evaluate that against what the board policies are and their initiatives are, figure out how that fits in, figure out what my capacity and my burn is to get those things done, push back when needed, respectfully, obviously. Find out from your stakeholders, Mr. Customer, I'd love to help you with that. I don't have the capacity, or because of the capacity that I have right now and it's already full, I'm going to need to take one of your initiatives or this one and move it over to another quarter. Which one, help me with this. Which one do you want me to move? And now you're negotiating and communicating with them so they can understand where you are and what's happening. And that's going to make them appreciate the fact that you're working with them and make them understand a little bit better of what the limitations are that you guys are working with as well. So I think that is my spiel on project management and the things that we do as far as our department goes to make a bunch of those things come together. The goal of quality improvement is achieving effective reliability. A lot of the projects that we have coming across our desk have solutions to them, and sometimes that means we've got to take some time to figure out those solutions. We have a help desk system right now that has limitations, and because of those limitations, we have to do more work. Prior to that help desk system, we had one that wouldn't allow anybody but my staff to put in a help desk ticket, which made us do even more work. So sometimes it's iterative on how we improve stuff. I'm not saying you should get project management, get a project manager, and just manage all your projects all at once and you'll have no issues. I am saying, though, that you guys have the ability to get a hold of some project management software, and there's some free stuff out there like Asana that'll let you do like 15 people in a group. Some of your districts are small enough that might work great for you. I used Asana originally when we started doing this, and then I went to Smartsheet because it gave me some more abilities and I had more people that were linking into it. But Asana might be a good one. And then there's bigger ones out there like Monday.com. There's a school district out here that uses Monday.com, and it's an excellent package, but it's a little pricey, and we haven't decided that that's the direction we want to go. But there are a lot of different packages out there that'll allow you guys to get your feet wet, allow you to start putting some of the stuff together and moving forward. I am suggesting that you guys take a serious look at project management as a part of your solution, of the bigger overall solution. It's warranted. It really is. There's a lot of value that you'll find right off the bat once you start putting in some project management, once you start teaching your people. Now, I may have gone a little overboard. I brought in a project management training company to train my staff on project management. I got certified in project management. I'm working on my PMP certification, which is a project management professional certification, because I'm taking this to the next level as a project management office within our district, so that our district resources now, instead of everybody running around doing something different, if we had a project management office, we'd be able to take a lot of those projects that we're working on and we'd be able to share the resources, and it would cost us a lot less as a district. So the PMP certification is through PMI, the Project Management Institute, but I'm also, I have my my Scrum Master certification and my Scrum Master Fundamental certification as well. So I can teach project management to new staff members that come on. But while I was learning it, I brought it on and we held classes, and we have a classroom here, and I brought my guys in 2 different shifts, and all of them have the basics under their belt. I also am putting a bunch of them into my projects on a daily basis. Like this morning, like I said, somebody sent something to me saying, hey, we got this great thing and we need all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to send you over a link to my project charter. Fill it out, send it back to me, and we'll kick this thing off. I instantly then decided who was going to be my Scrum Master, linked them into the smart sheet, made a smart sheet for this whole thing. I have a smart sheet that I'm still sharing. Let me see if I can pop over to my smart sheet. Okay, so here, if you guys can see this, here is how I use my smart sheet. This is my dashboard that shows me, it's just incrementally moving like that because I'm sharing it. This is my dashboard that shows me all of my projects for the year. In it, I can instantly tell how many I've completed. I can tell my progress. I can tell what I'm working on. Down below, I can tell my overdue tasks. I can then go into the sheet itself. Sorry, Raptor alert, emergency initiated. I gotta close that off. So then I can go in and I can take a look at all of my projects that I've got for the year. And I'm the assistant director for the Nets group. So under the Nets, I can see all these projects that I'm currently working on. I can then go into any of these projects. I even set up within the projects a large project master and a small project master. So if somebody says, hey, I need something done in every single classroom, your whole district, I can click on the large project master. I can instantly start it. It's got all of that already in there. And now I'm up and running and I can get us going on that. I also have all my guys down here and I can tell what projects they're working on individually and where they are, and keep track of the smaller projects. These aren't the big projects. These are just, yeah, I need a network drop stuck somewhere. I need a WAP fixed over in this location. So I have the ability to go in and do that for my guys individually. But I can also then drop into projects. Like this is the one that I just started today. I've got the project charter. I'm going to drop in there and show you what the project charter looks like, just so you guys can kind of get an idea. So again, we're looking at some basic stuff. What's the project name? Who's the manager of it? Who's sponsoring it? What stakeholders am I involved with? Steering committee. Who's the project team? Are there other people involved? Do I have vendors involved? Give me a description. What's the vision? Someone's got a vision here. You know, what are we looking at? What's the scope? What's in scope? Now let's conversely talk about, okay, what's out of scope? So we're going to have these 12 people. They're going to work in this one room. Out of scope is we're not going to be doing tech support on any of their devices. I want them to know that up front. You know, you're coming in from another outside agency. You've got devices. If you have issues and it has nothing to do with just connecting to my network, that's going to be on your tech support, and you guys need to realize that and be aware of it. Deliverables. What are we trying to get done? How do I know we're successful? What goal are we aligning with the board? I want to make sure that we're aligning and that it makes sense before we have all these projects that have nothing to do with the dollars and cents of why I should be here doing what it is that I'm doing. You know, good, feel good stuff is great, but I want to make sure that we're aligning it where it needs to align. Objectives. How do we know we're successful? What are the risks? Are there issues that we need to mitigate? Are there things we should at least be aware of? And give me some milestones. You know, how do I know where I need to be within a certain period of time, so then I can do that capacity burn thing and I can keep things moving with my guys? How are we going to track this? Do we have a smart sheet? Are we using Teams, Drive, SharePoint? what are those tools that we're going to be using collectively so that everybody knows where we are and what we're doing. So these are some of the things that, and again, I don't have to go in, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is what a small project template is. It has my project charter in there. It's got build a team in there. It's got a place for me to put all my notes and what is the vision that we're working on. So in my notes, every time we have a conversation, every time they send me an email, I just copy and paste it over here. Then I can go back in when someone says, hey, where are we on that? I can go in here and I can look and I can say, well, Ellie just told me he gave guidance to Stanley, who's doing the device onboarding, to put their devices on a certain location, try to use wireless drop if it can be, et cetera, et cetera. So now I know, because he and I talked this morning about, well, how are you going to set this up? And Elliot said, well, I'll reach out to somebody and I'll let them know. Well, now I don't even need to ask Elliot that question, but from within here, I can see where he was. I could also go in here though, and I could ask Elliot a question, and now that question I send him is not going to be an email or a Teams. That's going to be a note straight back into this card within this project. And now I can see what Elliot is, and then when Elliot responds, it'll drop right back in here, and I'll get a note in my email saying, hey, Elliot responded, click here to look at that, and it'll take me straight over here. So all of that information now isn't all over the place. It's stuck straight into the Smartsheet. I don't know if you can do that in Asana. I don't know if you can do that in Monday.com, but I do know that that's one of the features that I really like using Smartsheet for, because it encapsulates all the conversations with everybody back into the actual sheet itself. So those are a couple of the ways that we use it. Now we use Smartsheet for a lot of other things too. If I were to go over and look at just some of the things that we've done in Smartsheet, some of it has nothing to do with running the projects that we do in Smartsheet for just the project. I use it to do my help desk rostering. I use it to figure out how many cords I need to order. I use it for some inventory stuff. When we got hit with ransomware and our help desk system disappeared overnight, I spun up a help desk within this and ran help desk out of this. So there's a lot of different things you can do within Smartsheet other than what it is that comes out of the box. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't had a chance to look at some of the other project management packages out there, and you're going to find that you're going to have the ability to use those packages to manage some of the stuff that you guys are doing are going to far outweigh the time it's going to take for you guys to do it, and give you some lasting resources that as your staff turns over, well, who was working on this and who's doing that? I can go in and reassign things pretty quickly. If I've got someone that's out on vacation, it gives us the ability to come in here and make some real quick changes in the things that we're working on. Okay, I think I am at time on the stuff that we were doing here. Anybody have any questions about project management software, training for project management, things that you may be looking to do with project management that I didn't answer in that barrage of information I shared with you guys? For those of you that have an interest in doing something with project management, I think it's important to understand that this is part of the solution, the long-term solution to managing all the things that you guys have in your school districts. There's so much information. There's so many new things coming out there. There's so many untried things that a lot of times you'll start a project. I mean, I can't tell you how many projects before I got project management stuff in in place when we started doing it. I can't tell you how many times we started a project and a month later I couldn't figure out where we were with it, and nobody could tell me where we are. It just kind of fell by the wayside and no one was doing it. Case in point, we're doing esports. We got together with CAPS. CAPS wanted to do esports in every single one of our locations. That's a lot of locations. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of pieces that need to be put together for that. But because our organization isn't tied together as tightly as I'd like for it to be, there were things that needed to be done that had to do with other departments, and they weren't dialed in with the things that needed to be put together to begin with. And M&O didn't have the capacity to do the things that CAPS was asking for them to do. They wanted to do wraps of rooms, they wanted to do new flooring, and all of a sudden, M&O was a sticking point because they couldn't bring them in to get that work done. And so now that project's on hold. But some of the schools have gone out and gotten grants, and now they're doing innovation rooms, which are basically esports rooms, but not under the guise of the CAP initiative. And so we're still doing those. We're still moving forward with those, but they're being done in a different way. And we're still running into a problem of now we've got to bring in vendors to wrap the rooms, to finish off the walls, finish off the floors, and get those things together. Somebody asked if classroom teachers have tried utilizing project management for some of the stuff that they do. We've had some success with school teachers looking at using project management to manage some of the things that they've got coming across their desk. If you take a look at project management in its simplest form, you can manage anything as long as it's something that you need to keep track of. I mean, who goes out and works with hooking the tether ball up every week? That could rotate, and you could use a project management software package to have a different list of who goes through and when that rotation goes. I use it to figure out who's got seniority in my department and who gets to work out of class next time or who gets to do overtime. I use it for a lot of things that I want to track. And it doesn't have to be just a project. It can be just a repetitive something that I want to track. For the things that I do want to track that are a project, I make a concerted effort to make sure that my whole team knows, hey, if it's got a beginning and an end, if it's got a deliverable, let's try and make it a project. Even if it's a simple project, like the one that I just spun up this morning, that doesn't have a lot to do with anything. But it could morph into, who's doing this and why isn't that done and where are we with it? And I need to have some deliverables within a certain time frame. They're saying, hey, January 8th, we want to be up and running in that room. Okay, well, now I know how far out I can go. And now I know that I need to work with my guys between now and then to get those things done. And when the voice of the customer comes back and says, hey, where are you on that? I've already shared the sheet with him. He can see where we are, or I can just pop it open and we can have a quick minute. And I'm like, hey, here's where we are. Here's what I need. And here's what we've done so far. And here's what I'm waiting on. Real simple, real quick, down and dirty. But it simplifies me trying to track. And what if I'm out and they call? Well, now my Scrum Master can do the same thing with them. It doesn't have to be me. He can go in there and pop in a question. And that question will go to the team. And someone on the team will be able to respond back and answer that question. So it takes a lot of the fire out of what needs to be done, and it gets me out of the middle. And again, I'm a director. I lead. I'm not a manager. I don't manage. I'm a director. I lead. And there's a big distinction between the two. And it's one of those things that I'm trying to make the others understand as we move forward. Is my job is to give direction and to give that leadership of where we can do and what's the vision and think outside the box and come up with the solutions. It's not to manage the day-to-day stuff. Project management helps manage the day-to-day stuff. So if you guys want to up your game and go to the next level, you guys need to get past the managing everything. I can manage it all, but that's not my job. I shouldn't be sitting on the help desk answering questions. I shouldn't be getting into the weeds on has that guy's account been set up for this project. I should be looking at it going, okay, well, who on the project can do the best for all these different pieces, assign that all to all those people, and then they can do it, and I can go back and I can look at it from a different view, take that 50,000 foot view and say, okay, where are you on that project? Who's doing this? What was done yesterday? What are you doing today? And what are we going to do tomorrow? What can I help with? I just need to help keep this thing moving. So being able to do that and be able to give that direction is the leadership. I think that we, the people that are on this call are here because we're trying to figure out better ways to do things. And I think that's the leadership in us, the vision in us. And we don't have to be, you can be a school teacher, you can be the janitor and be a leader. You can be setting the vision at any level. And I think that's the important part that we need to understand is that we are the visionaries. That's why we're here. The people that are interested in making a difference and taking this to the next level, they're the ones sitting in these meetings and talking about the stuff and understanding that there is a better way to do it. Well, what's a better way? Well, a better way is to manage it with a system that we can have leadership over and try and bring that to the table. And sometimes that means we have to start by putting those projects together, working on those projects, understanding it, getting it better, figuring out how to build capacity within our teams, and then turning it over to our teams, and then stepping back and saying, okay, well, now I've taught you guys how to do it. You guys know how to do this stuff. You have the skill set. Now I'm going to step back and say, okay, now I want you guys to do it. And then as there's problems, as things don't work, then we step back in as leaders and mentors and coaches, and we say, hey, we may want to do this a little different. And we help guide them and move them forward until they get to the point where they can do it as good as we are doing it. Because we got other stuff to do. We're leaders. We're visionaries. We've got other visions and things that we need to work on. And this is just a piece of it, but it's an important piece of it to manage all the projects that you guys have coming across your desks. So. I don't know. So who out there is using project management software? I saw a couple people were using Asana. The last one I was at, they were using, quite a few people were using Monday.com. I'm actually working right now with, and if you're in California, and I don't know where everybody is from, but if you're in California, the San Diego Office of Education down there has a project management office, and they just put on a K-12 project management academy for the state of California. And I have one of my guys involved in that academy with myself, and we're just wrapping that up right now, but they have it on a regular basis. They also have a ton of different resources available on their site. So I would suggest you guys look at them for information. If you go to their site, they've got just a whole bunch of information that you guys can download for free and work with. As far as putting together your project charter, putting together a lot of the different pieces that put together the solution for doing project management, especially in the K-12 environment. Again, it's a different animal, but project management is project management. If you guys start working with project management, you're gonna really appreciate the value that it's going to bring to your projects and to your initiatives and the other things that you guys are working on. I will San Diego. What's the I'm going to put in the chat here. That is the location that you're going to want to do a search on that should be able to get you there. They've done a ton of really good stuff. They put on a symposium. My computer is just giving me a little trouble because I'm sharing with you guys, but here is the link to their location. And they specifically do project management for school districts. And they've got classes online that you can go to on how to build a project schedule, effective strategies, project management academy like I had just gone through. They have conferences, they have archived workshops for different things that you guys may want to get involved with. Really cool stuff on how to do projects and how to successfully do projects within a school K-12 environment. A lot of the charter schools also were at the event that we were at, so it was a really good turnout, and I think they've got the right idea. They're sharing it with the whole state. We had people from out of state come in as well. So if you happen to be out of state, we had people fly in from out of state. But if you guys happen to be from out of state, that doesn't negate the fact that you might be able to reach out to them, say, hey, I'm interested in doing some project management stuff. Heard you guys have this, interested in joining. And you should be able to talk to the guys over there and have them help you guys kick off doing some project management with the endeavors that you guys are working on right now. Okay, 10:15, the optional networking is supposed to kick off. So I appreciate you guys joining me and spending this time with me. I'm not sure where my assistant is, who's going to hop back on when I got to the end of this thing, but that's all I had, unless you guys have some more questions directly for me. You can click on the networking tab off to your left where it says networking now, and that should allow you to go into that session as well. So thanks, guys. And again, on that thing, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. You're welcome, Christine. Hope you guys reach out to San Diego's office if you guys just want to get a copy of some of their printed out information. They've got a great PDF they'll send over to you as well.